Welcome to my first ever walking tour / vlog of a theme park. Now, I've already been to Efteling, Phantasialand and Europa Park this year. I'm going to Energylandia in a few weeks, and I do have tickets to go to Epic Universe later on in the summer. But I thought I'd start with the closest major theme park to me, and that is, of course, Alton Towers. For a couple of reasons. They have a new ride, as you've probably heard, Toxicator. Now, I was there for the opening day of Toxicator a couple of weekends ago, but you may have heard on other channels, if you keep up with your theme park news, that it was a bit of a disaster really, because a pipe had burst underneath Toxicator, which meant it was closed for about 2 hours. At the same time, a number of major rides were closed all at once. I think there were about 6, including Nemesis, Galactica and 13. Of course, 13, no real surprises there if you come in the colder months, because I don't think it can operate under about 4 degrees. So I think I'll head over to Toxicator first. This is the thing about Alton Towers. It's so big that it can look quieter than it is. It's absolutely perfect theme park weather today. And with it being a Saturday as well, it's absolutely rammed here. The Smiler was on 100 minutes last time I checked, and I'm hoping to try and utilise some of the single rider queues. But of course it is also Alton After Dark today, so the park's open till 8. This is the last one of spring. I think from here on out throughout April, the park's open from 10 till 4 in the weekday and then 10 till 6 at the weekend. In the Easter holidays as well, it's 10 till 6. I'm going to resist the urge to go on Wicker Man. It's normally the first ride I go on when I come here. And the queue's only 50 minutes, I think, which is pretty normal for Wicker Man. It's always popular, and unless you can get in early and get in the queue early on a busy day, it normally stays at about 50 minutes the whole day. But look up here. The Sky Ride's going. It is actually still closed, but it's so good to see these moving back and forward. It makes the park look busier. Obviously they were closed all last season. So hopefully they're going to open a little later in 2025, because it's such a big park and not everyone wants to spend the whole day walking. Unlike me, because theme parks are my answer to the gym. I like to get my steps up when I come to these theme parks. Wicker Man always looks so good. So we're going to come past the Curse at Alton Manor on our way to Forbidden Valley. Already things are looking better than the last time I was here, because people were queuing outside to get on Curse, formerly Jewel. And you know it's a busy day when people are queuing outside for Curse. It's a really good little ghost train. The effects in there are great, and I like the story. I like what they've done with it. I much prefer it to Jewel. But yeah, last time I was here, people were queuing outside to ride that. It was about a 20-minute queue. Normally it's just walk on. I've had quite a few existential rides on that thing when I've gone on it on my own. You know, I'm a grown woman riding a ghost train in the dark on her own. I might be quite harsh about some of the operations and the queue times today, because that's just a hangover from being at Europa Park last weekend for their opening day. I don't think we waited for longer than 20-25 minutes for anything, aside from Voltron, and even that was only 45-50 minutes max. And obviously you can say it's a Saturday, it's Alton After Dark, it's the start of the 2025 season, they've got a new ride, of course it's going to be busy, of course queues are going to be long. But when you see how well other parks across Europe deal with crowds, you can't help but feel a little bit shortchanged when something like the Smiler's on 100 minutes. Forbidden Valley is absolutely my favourite part of the park now. To be honest, I think it probably always was. But ever since they retracked Nemesis and put loads of work into the theming around here, it just looks great. And although I didn't go on Toxicator a couple of weekends ago because of the burst pipe, I did see how it looked, and before it opened I was a bit worried because obviously Nemesis, this whole area is kind of red and black and yellow, and Toxicator's bright green. I wasn't sure if it would fit in, but it does. It really brings this whole area together. However, it was just closed. There is a single rider line as well, and I think I will use that just to see how quickly it moves. And of course his Nemesis. My favourite ride at the park, absolutely. I really like the new theming. It took a while to get used to, because I've been coming to Alton Towers for absolutely years, and I was a bit nervous about the change to the black and red track. But no, I think it looks great. All right, so Toxicator is down. And when it is having downtime, they have these little workmen on the screens. The queue doesn't look too bad. I'm not sure whether to join it or not, because it is the main reason why I'm here, of course. It's the only ride I really want to get on today. And when a ride goes down, obviously sometimes people leave the queue line and go on something else. So maybe that'll happen. Now, it was in this little kind of underpass where the offending pipe burst a couple of weekends ago. This doesn't lead anywhere other than to a kind of a viewing area. Oh, and then up to the food outlets and off to the gardens and dark forest, that sort of thing. So Nemesis is definitely on 2 trains today. But the good news is Toxicator's open now. It had a tiny bit of downtime just as I came into Forbidden Valley. Let's have a look at the queue. It does look really good. So the queue's on 50 minutes. I think I'm gonna try the single rider queue. All right, my first ride of the day. Ah, here we go. So it looks like the entrance is just here. So hopefully we won't be waiting too long. So I only waited 35 minutes there in the single rider queue for my first ride on Toxicator, finally. So that knocked about 15 minutes off the queue time for me. And I gotta say, coming from someone who wasn't overly excited about a topspin coming to Alton Towers. It's not that I didn't think it was a great idea. Alton Towers desperately needed a new flat ride. That was really, really, really good. I really enjoyed that. It was pretty intense actually, and the seats were really, really comfortable. But I felt like I had a slightly loose fit. And when it was kind of tilting our side down towards the water, I felt like I was slipping out. I felt like my bum was actually sliding back and forth in the seat, which was quite unnerving actually. It's a good cycle. I absolutely love the audio that kind of tells the story. I'm not quite sure what the story is though. Something about processing saliva. I'll have to look into it, but yeah, that was really, really, really good. And because it's on that raised platform, it's a bit like you're on a stage, and it does feel really, really high. At the moment, I'm not sure now if I prefer Toxicator or Talican over at Fantasyland. Obviously, Talican's theming is absolutely amazing, but this is really, really good. It's really well thought out. Yeah, that's impressed me. That's put me in a really, really good mood. Alton Towers needed that, and 35 minutes in the single rider queue wasn't bad at all. I mean, you come in here and you just kind of go around that corner to the bottom of the stairs to get on board the carriage. Super impressed with that ride. I really, really liked it, and I love the theming. It's completely finished off the kind of Forbidden Valley area. It's made it look so much better. Apart from this section, Galactica really needs some work, or certainly the area it's in needs some work, because it's blue, you know, you've got this really kind of dark, cool section over here, and this kind of stands out. It doesn't really fit in. And don't get me wrong, I do think Galactica's a good ride. I like a flying coaster. The layout isn't that long. I think the queue at the moment is over an hour. Let's go have a look. There's no way I'm queuing for over an hour for Galactica, and the last few times I've been here, it's broken down while I've been waiting in the queue, so I've always ended up waiting longer than advertised. Yeah, so the queue currently is on an hour's wait. They do have a single rider queue for Galactica now, but I don't think I'm going to risk it today. Galactica's not my favourite ride in the park. It certainly used to be when it first opened, when it was called Air. I'm showing my age a bit, but a lot of my friends still call it Air, just out of habit. To be fair, it does look good at night, but I mean, when I say blue, it needs a repaint or something, a repaint, a retheme. Because now with Toxicator over in Forbidden Valley as well, the whole Nemesis Phalanx universe is all coming together, and I don't really see where Galactica fits into it. So I'm going to skip Galactica for now. Maybe as the day goes on, the queue might get quieter. I think I'd only probably queue 20 minutes, maybe half an hour max for Galactica. I've been on it quite a few times in my lifetime as well. Now, when I was waiting for Toxicator, the Nemesis queue went down. It was 70 minutes when I got to Forbidden Valley. Oh, here we go. When I got to Forbidden Valley, Nemesis was about, I think it was at 70 minutes. But while I was waiting for Toxicator, it dropped down to about 40. Now, if Nemesis still had a single rider queue, I'd be on it, because the queue does move quite fast for Nemesis, actually. Today, I would say, having not been on it and not queued for it yet, I think operations look quite slow on Nemesis, actually. There's quite large gaps in between trains. I was taking some video of Nemesis earlier, and for the one train that went round on Nemesis, Galactica had 2 go round. There it is. It does look so good. This was the side I was on, so I was kind of facing the cattle pen queue. Obviously on single rider, you don't pick where you sit, and you are asked to kind of squidge up when you're loaded onto the trains on this ride. You put your bag in front of you, and the floor kind of drops when the ride starts, but you're asked to squish up, so you don't have much choice of where you sit, but that's fine. That is just to make sure that the operations run smoothly on that thing, which they absolutely are today. Really good experience. I'm glad I got on that. Oh, every time I see Nemesis, I want to ride it. It's the theming, it draws me in. This is my kind of theming, some evil alien. Some underground alien. And I think the addition of that eye, I know it was there last season, obviously it came along with the Nemesis retrack. I love that eye. It's so iconic, it's quite filmic. If there's one thing that makes Alton Towers special and kind of stand out from other European theme parks, whoa, it's windy up here, it's just how big it is. And when I'm going from Forbidden Valley through to Dark Forest, which is all the way over there, I like to take a walk through the gardens, which are a bit of a maze actually. A lot of steps, and it can take quite a while. But I think it is something that's quite special about Alton Towers. You can spend a couple of hours walking around the gardens, particularly when the queue times are as high as they are right now. Obviously there are quicker ways to get to Dark Forest, but as I'm here on my own today, I'm going to take the scenic route. So this is something that is really, really unique to the park here at Alton Towers. The gardens, a lot of people miss them because they're too busy being stuck in 100-minute queue lines for the Smiler. But on a day like this, where you've got a late opening time, or later opening time, 8 o'clock, it is always worth having a walk around the gardens. I went to Efteling earlier this year, and this is kind of what I was hoping it would be like. You know, lots of green space, lots of planting. Obviously Efteling is more themed towards fairy tales, and Alton Towers is a lot darker. But I do think Alton Towers just does it a bit better. Like things like this. So it says, he made the desert smile. Oh, the desert. He made the desert smile. I'm obviously getting hungry. I thought that said dessert. I thought it was going to say he made dessert with a smile, whoever he is. I mean, he made the desert smile. Gotcha. So we've nearly made our way all the way back to the towers from Forbidden Valley back there. And there's 2 ways you can go to get to Dark Forest and Exeter. You can head up the sneaky route or the main drag. Another unique thing about Alton Towers, and I think when people come from America and people come from further afield, they find all this stuff really, really charming. I mean, look how much space there is. So the queue times still aren't great. Everything's on an hour. I think the Smiler's on 80 minutes now. When I was here for the opening weekend, Dark Forest was completely dead. Rita wasn't working, 13 broke down because it was too cold. So the whole area was empty, and it was such a shame. But coming back this weekend, things have definitely improved. I think opening days are a bit cursed for theme parks, to be honest. As I've said multiple times in this vlog, last time I was here, it was completely dead because both of its rides in this area, so Rita and then 13 over there, were closed. So it was just the food stall. There was about 5 people wandering around in this completely empty area. The Sky Ride wasn't going like it is now. Obviously the Sky Ride is closed, but it is certainly testing. And it makes it look busier, not busier as in the crowd level, but busier as in more going on, more stuff to look at. And I think Rita's about to launch. Here we go. The single rider queue has been pretty fast on 13 the last few times I've been here. Both rides are on, well, Rita's on 60, I think 13's on 55 minutes. So actually, I think I'm going to go for 13. I really, really like 13, particularly when you go on it with someone who hasn't been on it before. Not to give away the surprise, of course, but it makes people jump, and it's got a very underrated first drop. So yeah, 50 minutes for 13. Let's see how much time the single rider queue shaves off that. I hate the 13 queue line. It's my least favourite queue line of any ride I've ever been on. I might be being a bit dramatic there, but I've spent a lot of time sat on the floor queuing up for 13 when I've gone in the main queue, at least. And it's part of what makes 13 good, is that you can't actually see the ride, you can't watch it while you're queuing up for it. And that, of course, means riders get a bit of a surprise, but it also means you have nothing to look at when you're waiting to go on it. Aside from Rita, the track does come quite close to the queue line. I waited a really long time then. Well, I probably waited for as long as I would if I'd gone in the main queue. And at some points we just weren't moving. And I really just don't, I just don't like the 13 queue line for some reason. But today's not been bad at all. A vast improvement on last time. It's nice to see the park busy again. It's nice to see Dark Forest busy again. And to see Rita and 13 operating. So we're going to head over to X Sector now. It's going to get dark soon. It's about 5 o'clock at the moment. So we want to try and get on the Smiler. I imagine the single rider queue is going to be long for that as well. Oblivion, I think, is closed. It's been closed all day. And if it did open, I didn't notice. It's always been closed when I've looked at the queue times today. I often forget how amazing the Smiler looks when you first walk into X Sector. They've packed so much into such a small area. Here it comes.
That's what I want to do with the dog.
And it just looks monstrous. It's just a load of twisted metal. And it's really difficult to take videos of because you're never quite sure where the trains are coming from. It is a good ride. My favourite parts are the bunny hills. They're my favourite elements on this ride. You get some proper ejector airtime on those things. And I'm not a massive fan of inversions. Well, I am. I like inversions, I like loops, but I prefer kind of slower ones with a bit more hang time. I don't like them to be completely relentless. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the Smiler is a bit of a marvel. Sadly, Oblivion is closed. I don't tend to go on Oblivion quite as often anymore. I'll go on it if the queue's short, but I really like watching it. Obviously, we're not going to see anything down here today because it's been closed all day. I think I've already mentioned earlier, there are better dive coasters now, but Oblivion's drop is still one of the best, and it is so forceful. And you can't beat the soundtrack. It's so 90s, I love it. They better not ever change that. That would be an absolute travesty if they got rid of this funky little tune. So Smiler's on 70 minutes. I'm going to try out the single rider queue and then head over to Forbidden Valley again to go on Toxicator at night and of course Nemesis. I'm still hopeful that I'm going to be able to get a few rides on Nemesis because it does always seem like the queues get a lot quicker, will move a lot quicker later on at Nemesis. Now, if I have one pet peeve when it comes to the Smiler, is that you've got the lift hill, well, you've got two lift hills. It's a very, very long ride duration, but you've got the vertical lift hill. I'm trying to get a good angle of it, but these fences are kind of in the way. But you have the vertical lift hill, which is quite scary. You feel like you're slipping out a little bit. But here it is. When you get to the top, it's just a very, very kind of gentle slope. It's not like what you get on Soar, where you get a beyond vertical drop. Here it is. You get good views up there. But it just seems extremely gentle compared to the rest of the ride. Right, let's try and go on it. Oh, it was really, really rough on the third row there. And the train was very, very rattly. But I tell you what, I don't think I give the Smiler quite enough credit it deserves. It is such a good ride. It's very, very intense. And my favourite bits are the two bunny hills, particularly the second one. I mean, I prefer a slightly looser fit with my harness when I go on the Smiler. Obviously sometimes the ride ops come round and force your harness tighter than you'd like. But if you do manage to keep your harness semi-loose, you get some proper airtime on that second bunny hill. I was literally levitating. And I waited about half an hour in the single rider, and the advertised queue time was an hour, 70 minutes, something like that. So there were some really good operations on the Smiler today. They were making sure every single train was full, and they had full control of the queue line. They did a really good job. You really can't beat Forbidden Valley at night time. They've even got these spotlights kind of searching around amongst the trees, which does make you feel like you're in a sci-fi military facility. It looks so good. Nemesis on the left here. So here's the single rider line. It looks the same as when I was in it earlier, which took about half an hour. So we've only got to get to the bottom of the stairs there. So hopefully we'll be able to get off in time to jump on Nemesis as well. Once again, waited about 30 minutes in the single rider queue for Toxicator. You know what I'm going to say, it's even better at night. There's still something about that seat. They feel really kind of smooth and slippery. But every time it flipped me over, I thought I was going to fall out. It's a really good ride, and I have enough time to get in the Nemesis queue. 50 minutes. I think quite often the Nemesis queue line is overestimated. I absolutely love that ride. It was riding so good tonight, and the night time is the best time to ride it, really. It's just so forceful, it's so intense. I much prefer rides that have give you a lot of airtime, and there's no airtime on Nemesis at all. You are held back into your seat, absolutely pushed into the back of your seat. But it's just a classic, and I'm so glad that that was my last ride here tonight. As for Toxicator, I think it is a brilliant addition to the park. It actually surprised me. I like a top spin. I prefer coasters, of course. But it actually, I wasn't scared. It takes a lot to scare me these days, but it made me a bit nervous. You had that feeling again of, oh, what's this going to be like? The kind of, perhaps fear of the unknown. And it's a feeling that you don't really, well, it's a feeling that I don't really get anymore because I've been on so many rides, I've been to so many theme parks now that I kind of miss that feeling of anticipation, feeling nervous, not knowing how a ride's going to feel, worrying, you know, is it going to scare me? And I kind of got that with Toxicator. So today was so much better than Alton Towers opening day a few weekends ago. Most of the rides were open. I didn't notice many closures at all. I didn't notice many rides having downtime. Obviously Oblivion was shut all day, and that's a little bit sad, but if you've already been on Oblivion and it is a short ride, it's an older ride, it's kind of a bonus when that one's open. But Toxicator is a great addition. I really liked that, and I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, particularly at night. It looks great. They've spared no expense with the theming on that one. And once Hex is open and Alton Towers has its full ride offering again, I think then it will start to feel like Alton Towers is back to itself again. I was worried about it on opening day. I thought, God, this is just like 2024. You know, multiple rides being down all at once. And some people have paid full price to be here. I'm all right, I've got a Merlin pass, I can come back. But today felt like the Alton Towers I've always known. And I'm feeling a lot more positive about this season now. Like I say, I'll come back when Hex is open. And hopefully that will alleviate some of the queues a bit. But until then, thanks for coming along with me. I'm going to now trek back to the car because I don't get the monorail. I want to get a few more thousand steps in. So thanks, you can check me out on TikTok as well. It's CoasterCat33. See you next time.